Okay, my name is Dan Becker, and right now you're watching part 4 of this video series on how chemicals affect your brain. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I've got a brain tumor that I'm not going to be around about 3 or 4 months from now. That's how much time I got left to live. And I've been doing these presentations since 1989 all over Minnesota, really. I couldn't even list all the names, but mostly always prevention. I've done prevention. That's what this presentation is. This is, I would like to think, one of the best prevention presentations in the whole country. It's been developed over years and years and years with 7th and 8th graders. And so students who are in medical school, this is going to be way below you. Oncology people, all this stuff. This is really 7th and 8th grade. You got to come down to them. So we're going to talk about energy drinks because right now, at this point in time in our society, energy drinks are huge and there's no regulation on it. There's 34 milligrams in a Pepsi, and there's up to 58 milligrams. So all your regular Coca-Colas, your Mountain Dews, all these cans right now are regulated at between 34 and 58 milligrams in a 12-ounce can. So a 12-ounce can of Pepsi and regular Pepsi, I'm going to write that down. That's 34 milligrams in those. There's not an energy drink in the United States of America right now that's got less than 80 milligrams. 5-Hour Energy, these small ones, they got 80 milligrams. The extra strength and a lot of these little energy shots got up to 240 milligrams. So you got 5.5 cans of Pepsi in terms of caffeine in a lot of these. Now, these 7, 8, 9, 10-ounce Red Bulls and Rockstars, these little small ones, those are all between 80 and 240 right now, so somewhere between 2.5, 3, up to 5.5 cans of Pepsi. Some might be a little bit more than that. The most popular ones right now are these 16, 15 ounce. You got Rockstar, Red Bull, Monster. These are all between 120 and 340. So like this Red Bull right here, if you drank that, you just drank 7.5 cans of Pepsi. Now that might change in a short time, but at the moment that we're making this video, this is 7.5 cans of Pepsi, all right? And then kids always say, well, what's the worst one? Well, this is still kind of around, but it was pretty popular for a while. This is the Monster BFC, and it stands for Big Effin' Can, and this was 400 at one time milligrams of caffeine in there, and so that would be like 10 cans of Pepsi in one of those. And so then kids always ask, what is the worst one in America, and what are they? And so there's these little shots right here, and then I pass these around the room and I ask you to read them. Well, this right here is a Mio, and this on here it says caution, do not intended for kids, whatever, and it says that it is 60 milligrams per serving and 12 servings in the bottle, and so that makes it 720 milligrams, which makes this 21 cans of Pepsi in terms of caffeine. All right, so then this other one Mio right here is 60 times 18, which is 1,060. This makes this 31 cans of Pepsi right here, this Mio. And then you got this Folgers right here, 72 times 12 in terms of caffeine. I have people in the class read that out. So that's 864. That makes this about 23 cans of Pepsi. So I've seen kids come out of Casey's gas stations. They pop the top, squirt the whole thing down, and go, ugh! I just drank 21 cans of Pepsi. Now, why would it be a bad thing for a teenage kid, 7th and 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, to drink 21 cans of Pepsi? So this is the part of my presentation where sometimes I get in a little bit of trouble because I'm going to say this, and I don't know if there's a better way of saying this or not, but you can see how a student would misunderstand this, go home, say something to their parent. The parent would say, that doesn't make any sense, call the school, and then the school will get a hold of me and say, what's going on there? You got to figure out a better way of saying that, or just take it out altogether, but you can't, so I'm going to do this here. Caffeine and energy drinks do not make you mad, they don't make you angry, they don't make you violent. Caffeine and energy drinks do not make you mad, they don't make you angry, they don't make you violent. Caffeine and energy drinks do not make you mad, they don't make you angry, they don't make you violent. So I've done it 3 times, so hopefully you get that. You don't drink a Coca-Cola and say, let's go kill people. It doesn't work like that. So people don't get angry just from drinking these beverages. When you get angry though, see, you deplete these cells up here, so when you get angry, that makes it harder to calm down. And so what I want you to do is you think about the people that you know that drink a lot of these stimulants, no matter what they are, and you tell me they don't have a hot temper. You tell me they can't go from 0 to 60 just like that. You tell me little things don't upset them. Like, wait a minute, why are you upset? Look at the road rage out there. People trying to run you off the road, flip you off, ram your car in the ditch. And my first question is, what's in the cup holder? Is it, by Starbucks and Caribou at this point in time, and by their own admission, those are 300 milligrams in a regular cup of coffee over. That's like 10 cans of Pepsi in a regular one. And down at this concert, and there was a woman pushing that stroller, and so I saw this little kid, and he took a big swig out of it, and I went, oh, is anybody else going to say anything? So I said, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me. She looked at me and said, do you realize that little boy right there drank out of that Rockstar can? And she looked at me and goes, you are who? I said, I'm just a concerned citizen. She said, well, you do not need to concern yourself, because that is my son, and he is a rock star. And I went, oh my I didn't know what to say. But she grabbed the can and she comes up to me and she goes, do you realize how many wonderful things are in there? How many minerals and niacin and vitamins and all the wonderful things that are in there? I looked, I said, ma'am, do you realize that there's almost 5 cans of Pepsi in terms of caffeine in there? And without a breath, she looked at me, she goes, I don't know, my kids have caffeine. And I went, I just, how? So then the other thing I said to her after that, I said, well, ma'am, do you also realize that, you might say you don't know what synthetic drugs are, I never heard of synthetic drugs, but these energy drinks really are synthetic drugs. The caffeine is synthetic, the myosin's synthetic, the minerals are synthetic, the vitamins are synthetic, the cans are all synthetic. The only way that one of them might be natural is if it says 10% natural juice, but even then you got 10% natural juice. You don't have a whole thing of natural stuff unless it says that. I mean, there are some now, but by and large, these are all synthetic drugs. And so there's another one. I was over at a Burger King and there was a kid screaming at the clerk. And I knew them both from an alternative school. And I went up to one kid screaming at the clerk and I said, you know, you're Burger King? He said, yeah, but they screwed up my order. I said, I don't care about your supersize and all that. You got to quit the energy drinks, man. You got to stop. You got to cut down on that. You got a really hot temper. And I was associated, and he was agreeing with me because he was drinking 3 or 4 energy drinks per day. And so then I'm over at another school, and out in front of the principal's conference area, there's a kid screaming up and down the principal's conference area. And the assistant principal came out and said, you need to calm down right now. And I looked at him and I said, I don't think he can. He said, why not? And I said, well, he drank 2 energy drinks this morning before school. I don't think he's just going to calm down. I said, what am I going to do with the kid? I said, put him in the police liaison office, call a parent, have him come pick him up and take him home. He said, okay, what am I going to tell the parent? I said, right, I'll call him. So he called the number, and it just so happened that mom answered the phone. He reached over and put it on the speaker, but I still held the phone anyway. He said, hey mom, your kid's been drinking these energy drinks, doesn't have much of these things left in his head, probably couldn't calm down even if he wanted to. Why don't you come to school and pick him up and take him home? She says, you can't talk to me like that. I said, I just did. We've got 1,000 kids in this school. This isn't a daycare. We don't do babysitting. Your kid needs a babysitter. You come to school, you pick him up, you take him home, you babysit him. This is a high school. If he can't sit still paying attention to class, he's got to go. She said, you can't talk to me like that. I put the phone down. The assistant principal looked at me and said, you can talk to all the parents as far as I'm concerned. I said, line them up. This kid drank 2 of those energy drinks before school. He's not just going to calm down. That's not going to happen. And so there you got some stories about that. I was over at a gas station, one more, and then I'll move on. And there was a kid come out with one of these cans right here. This one right here. And he gets in the car, and he's about this big, and there's a lady coming up behind him, and she's a grandmother, I could tell anyway. I said to her, he jumped in the car, and I said, excuse me, ma'am, I work in school, but is that little boy going to be drinking out of that can right there? And she goes, yeah, that's my grandson, and when he's with me, he gets whatever he wants. And I looked at her and I said, well, you give him crack too? She didn't really know what that meant because she wasn't, that word just wasn't familiar to her. But, I was like the parent who says, I'd like it for all the kids to do the drugs and alcohol around my house. That way I can keep an eye on them. And then I said, well, when they're a little bit older, maybe you can all get adjoining prison cells because that would be really nice if the whole family could be together. But I said to her, do you realize that there's 5.5 cans of Pepsi in terms of caffeine in there? And she reached across, she grabbed that can, she came up to me right in my face, practically spitting, and she says, he told me it was a juice drink. And I looked at her and I said, well, it is kind of a juice drink. I mean, there's some vitamins and certain things in there, but there's also 5 cans of Pepsi in terms of caffeine in there. That kid looked at me with bullets in his eyes. If I was ever going to get killed by a 6-year-old, that would have been the moment right there. He wanted me dead. But so you kind of understand, right now, none of these energy drinks, none of this stuff is regulated. Now, that might not be the case at the time we show this, but right now it's not. And so I talked about this. I'm going to erase that. And there's a little pile of stuff right here that these are these cells up here. Let's say you're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these are the cells and they're getting bigger. It's a gross exaggeration, but when you're talking to 7th and 8th graders, you got to give them a visual, and that's what this is. So let's say that you allow 12-year-old kids to start drinking this stuff or putting certain substances in their body and in their brains that is not good for them. That'd be about like right there, all right? Right there, okay? And so now that we've decided that, this is the most popular question that's asked from parents and teachers as well. But then when I do this for kids, the smartest kid in the class asks this question right here because they are paying attention, they are focused, and this is the question they want answered. And they want to know how much is too much. And I'm like, whoa, which kid asked that question? How much is too much? Like, is Starbucks different than Caribou? Is regular coffee, if I can have 1 pot of regular Folgers or whatever, decaf, Colombian coffee, can I have, how much is one of these energy drinks versus the other one? If I go to that restaurant over there, is that any different than that one? My doctor said I could have 100 milligrams every day of caffeine and I'd be just fine. So there's all these questions that everybody has. And there's a whole variety of them, but they all come down to me replying with one question to the person who they are focused on. The one person that they're interested in, and the question I would ask them is, did you get anything from it? That's what you got to ask. You got to ask that question. You got to say, did you get anything from it? Because if you got a kid that drank a 16-ounce energy drink, that's the equivalent of, let's say, 5 cans of Pepsi, and they got nothing from it, watch this. They're gone. They're gone. This is the reason why I've done so much volunteering with this presentation, because we're going to have a whole generation of kids that can't calm down. See, when we're adults, we can split and double adult-sized cells. But if you don't allow these kids to get through puberty and you destroy these cells before they get puberty, you can't split and double something you don't have. And if you don't have them, you can't split and double them. You think we got a hot-tempered country right now? You wait 10, 15 years that all these stimulants been around that long, you're going to see a whole bunch of people that can't calm down even if they wanted to. Hot tempers, it's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse. And the government can't do it. We can't pass a law. We can't bring in, thousands and thousands of government employees that run around and make sure your kids aren't drinking this stuff. It's got to be you. You got to be the one. You got to be the parent. You got to take it away from them. You got to say no. You got to try and explain this stuff to them. And if they don't understand it, you got to say too bad. And if they say, well, somebody down the street is drinking 5 of these a day, so I don't care what they're doing down the street. What I care about is what we're doing in this house, and we're not doing that. And you're not having those. And later on in life, they're going to thank you, because a lot of their friends are going to be on multiple relationships, all kinds of jobs, hot tempers. Maybe it's going to result in domestic issues, all kinds of problems that can happen from people who got hot tempers and they can't calm down when they want to. And so, because they haven't developed the adult-sized cells, because they destroyed them before they got to puberty. You got to have the cells. I said that in the first part of this whole videotape, and I'm saying it again, and that is, in order to do things, you got to have the cells. If you don't have the cells, you can't do it. And so when you deplete and delete all these cells because you've done too much of this, and then it goes back to the question, which is, you ask that person, is, did you get anything from it? And if they say no, I drank a Monster or whatever the beverage was, and however the most potent of the caffeine that was that they put in there, say, I didn't get anything from it, then what that means is they're gone. That means there's no binding. There's nothing there to bind up to it, and so they're not getting anything from it. And so now that we talked about that, we're going to talk about synthetic drugs, because that's the future. Right now, at the point in time that we're making this video, synthetic drugs are on mints, gums, chews, nasal spray, suntan lotion, lip balm, shampoo, soap. Synthetic drugs can be put in. They're real durable. They can be put into anything. And so I had said in the first part that I've got a brain tumor and I don't have much time left to live, and that's why I'm making these videos. And so right now we're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about synthetic drugs, and hopefully you'll stick around and watch the next one. stop the video and let everyone in the room say everything that they know about marijuana, because that's a big topic, and it's going to be, and things that I've said in this video are very well going to be outdated very soon, but I'm not going to be around. So let people in the room talk about everything that they know about marijuana. You got to spend time on that, because that's such a big thing right now, and it's going to be around for quite a while.